All right, good morning. You're on the Get Busy Livin Podcast, and I'm Dr. Scott from Six Sense Acupuncture and also the Healthy Habits Club. So, we have a wonderful guest this morning, and thank you very much, Warren, for joining us today. We much appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us on a weekday. I know that you work crazy hours, so thank you again.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. So I'll kick it off with the standard question, the first question, and that's so tell us, Warren, what gets you out of bed every morning?
It's actually an interesting question because it comes down to the same thing. It's other people. Um, this morning it was my daughter at 6 a.m. at the door wanting a hug. Um, yeah, so if it wasn't for other people, and not thinking about myself all the time, I'd probably just stay in bed and lie in bed. Nothing would get me out. There wouldn't be a reason. Um, yeah, I the motivation for that is, hey, I'm needed and valued and feel important, and I can offer my vitality of life to people. So yeah, I get out of bed.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
That's so cool. So uh, I've known you for a while now. So what would it be 2017? I think I've known you.
yeah, it
So
sounds about right.
about 7 years.
Yeah,
Um, so we've worked in similar circles, but not together. But I was going to say, yeah, you worked for different hospitals, and so have I, obviously. And so I'll get into the main question I wanted to ask you. But firstly, I wanted to bring up that you're actually a nurse, and you how long have you been doing that for? How long have you been
oh, I
nurse?
started as an enrolled nurse in mid 2012. Before that, I was the weekend working at the weekends at nursing homes for quite a while, and that's what led me in. That was my second job, so that's what led me into changing careers altogether from a bookbinder. So yeah,
That was my next question.
yeah,
What bookbinder? Did you work bookbinding? Was it a factory? Was it?
it's a big factory. Big factories in the printing industry. So you're basically serving the printer. Getting the paper to the right size, and then also finishing their dodgy jobs and making it look good because I was a binder and finisher. So, yeah, so we had to make it look good for the customer if it wasn't so good, the printing.
So
Yeah, it was a
these are paperbacks and stuff like that. This is what you're talking
yeah,
about.
paperback books, magazines, just stapled magazines, things like that. Also book
Yeah,
covers. Yeah, everything involved with printing, not just books. Yeah.
yeah, cool. And so then you were doing part time. Uh, what sort of nursing was it?
Yeah, nursing home, so assistant nursing.
Oh,
Yeah,
assistant.
assistant nursing on the
And
weekend.
yeah, okay. So um,
Yeah,
so you're dealing with the elderly
yeah,
and
that's right. Yeah, yeah, nursing home work, and then studied and studied enrolled nursing and went straight into mental health. Interestingly enough, I didn't want to do mental health. I put my hand up and said, "Please don't send me on a placement to mental health. I've got enough of that around, and I don't need it." And I finished the job and went straight into a mental mental health hospital, and yeah,
we all do,
been
Warren. We all do.
yeah,
We're all surrounded by it. It's all good.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
what was I going to say? Okay, and what drove you to get um into respite, not respite, the elderly care in the first
um,
place?
in the elderly care in the first place, well, number one, I knew that the printing industry is, I was changing jobs every 2 years, so that was a difficult situation, and the company's just amalgamating. My wife was a nurse assistant in a nursing home for many, many years, more than 30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah,
I see
and
now.
yeah, it was by accident because I went and spent a few $1,000s without telling her, and then I had to pay it back. I said, "I'll pay it back. I had to earn it back. I have to earn that back because I didn't tell her. It was for her. It was for her." But no, it was meant to be. It was meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you had to find another job and
It was
pay that
destined.
off.
Yeah. Well, she was working, and it was a funny story. She had a day. It was New Year's Eve, and they couldn't find a worker for a night shift, so they needed an extra, and she was working, so she said, "Well, you're coming to work with me," and it's all right with the boss, and that was my start. New Year's Eve,
Wow.
working with my wife. Yeah, the start of a new journey. Yeah, yeah,
Happy New Year. Happy
yeah,
New Year.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's the job, but isn't it? It's
yeah,
I remember you're doing crazy hours. I remember standing on the top of the um, highest building in the Royal Brisbane and watching the fireworks on New Year's Eve.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
that's the job. You do crazy hours. So what was I going to say? Okay, and then um, which hospital did you go to
Well,
start your?
that was a private hospital, local private hospital where all the patients are voluntary patients, so they'll come in for various reasons, usually crisis, relationship crises, and maybe substance abuse, but they're
Yeah,
not completely out of control. They just want to dry out and do a bit of rehab. Sometimes, sometimes so they can go out and party and not die. Other times because they generally wanted to, get better. So yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Gotcha.
yeah, yeah, we moved
Um,
moved from moved from there to a more to the public system where the patients are often involuntary patients, so a different type of patient altogether.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yes, I worked in
yeah,
both as well.
yeah,
There's private, but private is very different to public when it comes to mental
yeah,
health. Yes,
yeah,
definitely, big time,
yeah, big time.
big time. Yeah, yeah. This well, their policy is private. Is policy is um, we don't keep mental health patients overnight. Not, I wouldn't. I can't say that about all hospitals, but um,
Yeah, yeah,
the ones that I worked at, they didn't hold them overnight. Whereas with
yeah,
public, they do.
yeah. That's right. The hospital I was working at, the general booking was for 2 to 4 weeks, but sometimes it'll only be 3 days or one
Yeah.
day. One day. Um,
Oh,
yeah, as opposed to in some wards it's 2 to 4 weeks in the public, but the ward I work in is the average is 6 months to 3 years. So for the
yeah.
same patient, yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
rehab, a full-on rehab
yes, I
ward.
know. I did
Yeah,
special. Like we call it specials. So that
yeah,
uh, we had to take care of patients. Well, basically, we were there to because I did in a different sector. We had to
yeah,
we had to look after patients that were violent
yeah. That's
and
right. Yeah,
well the potential I should say
yeah,
potential to be violent and had shown behaviour and previously. So yeah, that's exactly right. Um, whereas in private, you know, yeah, they if they ever got violent, they just transfer them to public. That's what I saw.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah. That suddenly, yeah, basically ring up the police. You ring up the police,
Yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
tell them because they're about to become involuntary. You ring up the police,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
and they just wander on and say, we're taking you for a further assessment.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We're taken to the
yeah,
public basically.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, uh, so then yeah, so you train. How long did you work in private? How long did you work in the
Four
private?
years. Yeah, four
4
four
years. Okay.
years. Yeah,
4
and
years in private health, private mental health, I should say.
yep, private mental health 4 years.
And
During that 4 years, I started as a casual in the public system, and then
yeah,
yeah, started there 2014. So yeah, 2014 as a casual, and then became permanent. Oh, about 5 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, I was going to say, and you done a couple of years prior to that in the retirement villages.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Um, okay, so you had a few years um, under your belt already, and then you went to the public. Is that right? Public.
that's right. Private, then public. Yeah, yeah.
So that would have been a culture shock. It would have been a
Um,
big culture shock.
a lot of people don't. A lot of people in private stay in private because it's less risky. Less risky. There's
Yeah,
less likely to be patients losing control of their faculties.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and yeah, getting into trouble. And there was always stories. There was always a risk involved. There's a risk. There's a risk with anyone, but it goes up significantly in the public system where you're being held, especially if you're being held in involuntary. Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that yeah, that's what I witnessed. Is um, yeah, the private. It was more your mild cases. They weren't the
yeah, yeah,
extreme
yeah,
behavioral
yeah,
conditions,
yeah,
or
exactly.
extreme side effects from illicit
Yeah,
medication, or
that's right. Yeah,
illicit drugs, I should say, illicit drugs or prescription medication.
yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So yeah, so then you go to public and it's totally different. I was
It's
the other way, so I went from public to private, so and then went back to
right.
public.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was a bit of a culture shock. It wasn't as much of a culture shock, I suppose, as it would have been for you, but for me, it was like, this is very different, very very different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Different. A different environment altogether. It's just, yeah. It
Yeah,
was quite exciting. It was quite at the start. It was quite. Oh wow. Okay, this is stepping it up a bit. Um,
yeah,
yeah, in how well the patients were, they're just simply not well. Not anywhere near as well as you'd expect. It makes the private patients look like there's nothing wrong. They're just there for what do you call it? Just there for a bit of a holiday, a break from their family, or something like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not. Of course, that's not the case. It's not the
Yeah,
case all the time. It's not the
yeah,
case all the time. But in comparison wise, that's what it
yeah.
looks like. it's
Yeah, well, no,
it's
I totally
not to
agree.
take away. Yeah, not to
I
take
totally
away
agree.
from their problems.
I, t-
Yeah, yeah,
I totally agree. And
yeah.
this is why I want to talk about it, because it never gets talked
Yeah.
about. I never ever hear
No,
anyone talk about this ever.
no. All right. No, it's the stigma. There's a big stigma behind mental health. If anyone says they've got no issues, that's the first issue they've got. They're not in denial. That's talking to myself. That's talking to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone.
yeah. I agree.
They're
Totally
just
agree.
they're just
Yeah,
in
we all have
denial
problems. Yeah, we
that
all have problems. Definitely
but it's how you
manage it.
manage it. It's how you
Yeah,
manage it. It's how you process it in your mind. It's it's what you do. Well, how do I put this? It's you
yeah.
can be
Take your time.
functional. You can be functional and have some issues that you've got to get to and work through. You can be more functional when you've worked through those issues, but then you always find there's something deeper, there's something more, there's
Yeah.
something that you can improve on. Um,
Yes.
and when you don't address that, eventually it's going to come around as an issue. It's an
Yep.
issue. It's like, oh no, I don't have to worry about that. I just, I wash my hands all the time, constantly. I constantly wash my hand because there's germs around. So, but then you put your hand up and you've got dermatitis and Uh,
Yeah,
you know, it can
from the
become, and that's
yeah,
just one aspect of obsessive compulsive disorder, right?
mm,
Well, you might not have that, but you might have something else that you're just ignoring because you just live with it. That's fine. But eventually it comes around and eventually you have to
yeah.
deal with it.
Well, it
And
becomes too much of an influence. That's the
yeah,
problem,
that's right. If you have
a
to,
negative.
because it intrudes in your life and your
Yeah,
general well-being altogether.
yeah,
And specifically around social connections.
mm,
You'll start to find that oh, somebody touched my plate on the corner, and you'll rub it clean. You
yeah,
can't handle that.
mm,
Again, that's just one example, but there's lots of other social aspects of life where people have difficulty. They might have difficulty talking like I'm talking, and before you know it, they have to get up and say something in front of somebody, and I can't do this. Why can't I do this? So you have to address those insecurities somehow. Somehow you've got
yeah,
to, make time and go, okay, well, I'm going to work this out. That's most people can work things out themselves, but more than often you have to go and get advice from your colleagues, your friends, or professional help to get it out, depending on where you want to go with your life. If you want to stay in your own little world, stay in your own little world. You won't go anywhere. You won't go anywhere. You won't feel any fulfillment or in your destiny of your life. You want to move on and you can't. You're stuck. You might have to see a professional, even if it's reading a professional self-help book. The
mm,
self-help books will only get you thinking deeper and starting. Well, this proves I need some professional help, or actually, it's helped me, but it'll only help you this much. The rest you've got to actively do. You can't get helped by reading the book and just having the knowledge. You got to walk it out. You got to actually practice what you've learnt in the book and acknowledged about yourself. And you got to go, okay, well, this is me. I'll confess that I overthink things. So, and everyone said, oh, you always overthink things, and I didn't think it was an issue. So, so I overthink things. It's not an issue. It's, leave me alone. It's fine. I overthink things until you can't get something done because you're overthinking it, and it's important, and you
mm,
have to get it done. And you go, well, I have to
yes,
get it done, or this has to be fixed, and you're overthinking it, and then that's when you have to open your ears and listen to what somebody says. And if somebody says again, you're overthinking this, right? I can't get it wrong. I can't get it wrong. I can't get it wrong. And they do something. Bang! In this particular case, I'm thinking about it was just education, and the questions are written like 5 questions, and there's 5 possible answers. And you've studied and studied and studied, and it's sort of like a trick question. It's like, huh? What? It's like, and you think and think and think, and you get it wrong, and then so you don't get to answer that set of questions. They ask the same question, but a different set of answers. It's on the same topic, but a different set of answers. So it's again, and you get it wrong again. And you go, well, but it's right. It's more right than any others. But there was a right answer. But that's when you tend to overthink things. And a
mm,
colleague patted me on the back and went, here, it's this one. Donk. And I went, what did
mm,
you do that for? She says, because you're always overthinking. Just keep pushing the button until it finally says yes. And sure enough, I was on my way. And I'm thinking, okay, so the wrong answer was the right answer. But it didn't matter. For the exercise, it didn't matter. It was the computer.
mm.
It was actually listed the wrong answer, and it was clearly wrong. But to move on, I had to just accept the fact that it was wrong, click the wrong answer. Somebody had done their job wrong, and move on. you know?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
right.
like, okay, I do have an overthinking problem because I was really stressed. So now from that lesson I learned 5 years ago, um, I still overthink, yeah, but I catch myself out and I go, Warren, don't overthink it, just move on. Don't overthink it, move on. And it helps a lot because it gets you unstuck
Yeah, true.
right on the spot. It gets you unstuck, just acknowledging that you haven't got it right, that you have this issue. It's not going to go away in a hurry, but I can manage it by just saying, leave it alone. I'm overthinking, move on.
No, very true.
Yeah,
We are
yeah,
we're our own worst enemies. So
yeah,
I'll just go back
yeah,
to the job, and thanks for that insight, because
yeah,
I mean we're all guilty of doing these things, which you're talking about. I
yeah,
do it too. It's all about understanding to correct yourself and just learn from it, because I mean we're going to make mistakes all the time. It doesn't matter
exactly.
who you
Yeah,
are.
yep,
Um, but then don't be too hard on yourself as well. So it's a conundrum.
exactly,
It's a
exactly. Yeah,
conundrum.
yeah,
But what I was going to say is I was going to go back to the hospital system and how it's currently run, and how staff view the current medical system. And what I wanted to bring up is so when I worked at the hospital, so I saw a lot of the mental health issues were surrounding illicit
drugs. Yep,
drugs. Yeah, illicit drugs, especially crystal meth,
yep,
crystal meth, the fantasy, the GHB, I think they call it, and
yeah,
speed.
yeah,
Uh, the, not so much cocaine, probably because people can't afford it. Heroin was another one, but it's
yeah,
not as it wasn't as prevalent. I noticed heroin as the other heavier drugs, but I did see it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah. So what would you say it's a lot of the underlying causes of the mental health issues that we're having today? And we'll go into more about that in
It,
a minute. I'll,
yeah, it's. I wouldn't hesitate to say it's 99% of um, the problems that the issues that we're dealing with is the addiction. It is the addiction, but it's not just the addiction.
Mm,
Um, um, it's the incapacity to live life and integrate in society that it's caused them. So that's caused, the patients I look after have had permanent mental decline, if you like, or damage because of the use of illicit drugs
yeah,
and things.
and
So yeah.
I should also add alcohol. Alcohol's another one.
Oh, look, it's it's probably bigger than all of them because it's probably bigger. Alcohol is bigger than all of the other
Yeah,
drugs put together, I believe.
yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, really big, really big. Like if any one of the patients, if you're out with them and you're not watching, they'll zip in. It doesn't matter what drug. If they can't get their hands on meth or speed or whatever, they're just going to take alcohol. It's more easily accessible. So and it's more socially acceptable. So
Yes,
they're not gonna watch you snort in Woolies, right? But they'll watch you have a drink. They'll do something about it
ah,
if you're snorting, but if you're
that's
having a
right.
drink, they're not going to worry. They're not going to worry. Um, yeah, so it is big. But when you say the cause, it's not because we've got access
No,
to
no, I shouldn't have
the
said that. No, you're
clients.
right.
Yeah, it's not really a cause, it's the result of deeper
Result, yeah,
issues.
yeah,
It's a result of deeper issues, and that's what we try and
yeah,
work on because those deeper issues haven't gone away for the patient. So
yeah.
if we focus and concentrate and work on the deeper issues as to, it might not get to the core, but it gets to the practical side of things. Well, what is it that's stopping you cooking for yourself? Right? What is it that's stopping you going out and playing games and just socializing, integrating with society? What is it? What are all these things? And medication, yeah, getting that right can help. The recognition that you're 9 times out of 10, the patient is not at fault that they went to drugs in the first place.
Yeah.
Their first use of drugs, the first thing that got them addicted, it's not their fault. It's like it's not their fault, and people say, "Oh, it's their choice to use drugs," but that's well, yeah, yeah and no, right? It's not their choice. What happened to them that drew them to drugs in the first place and got them addicted? That's not their choice. Um, it's what you do. It's what you do with the rest of your life from that moment on. Once you start to get the realization, that's your choice. So yeah, it's their choice to go back and use. That's their coping mechanism to go back and use. That's their choice. So people say it's their choice. They're correct. It is their choice that they went out and used. But dealing with the the beginnings of things and when it started and what to do about it, that has to be also their choice. We can't actually help anybody apart from medications. We can't actually help anybody address it until they're ready to address it. And ready to reintegrate with society, and that can sometimes take five years or more in hospital, involuntary. But
Yeah,
eventually, I've been in it long enough. That eventually, they will come to the realization that if they want to integrate with society again and not be an involuntary patient in hospital, they're going to have to make some changes to how they behave and how they behave, and their whole um, their whole attitude towards drugs, the recognition that hey, if I take this, it's going to lead me back to hospital. It's going to go back to hospital. So to stay out, I can't do it. You know, I can't do it, and and that will then leave them free to think about other things. Okay, well, it empowers them really because they've realised they don't actually need it. You know, that I just need to
yeah,
keep taking the medications. When I feel like taking it, I need to ring up, and get some help and work through those deeper issues as to why I felt like taking it. So yeah, they do get on the right track eventually, or they die.
yeah. That's right. Yes, yes, yes. True.
Yes. Mm.
So, what was I going to say? Um, and this is not talked about either. That um, I never ever see the media talking about how uh, alcohol, all these drugs that are influencing society, uh, and how we're dealing with the reason why people are going to these um, addictive, well, drugs and alcohol is a drug. I
Yeah.
consider it a drug
Yeah.
because it can kill you. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's potentially toxic, but I mean, if you really want to, you can. Yeah, you don't have to have that much to kill yourself with it. So,
No.
um, and the other thing, so this is a core issue because why are people going to these drugs that you can see from your experience? Because you've been doing it for how long? How long have you been doing it for in life?
Oh, so 2012. So for 12, yeah, 12 years. 12
12 years. Yeah.
years in mental health. In mental health, yeah. Um, why do they go? Oh, so we sort of touched on that before. Why they go to it is often not their choice. They
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
might be originally, but they don't take their first
Yeah.
hit. They don't take their first hits thinking that that's going to be the end of their life as they know it.
Yeah. That's
They think they've
yeah.
got control. They think
Yes.
they think that they'll just try it out. Yeah, cool. I'll do it again, and that's it's too late. You're already too late.
Yeah. That's
Um,
right.
so why do people go? It's because they don't. Right back at the start, it's because they don't feel valued, loved, supported.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if they knew their true value as a human being, and everyone has got true value, that they've got destiny that's just unrealized or unmanifested. It's just not. It hasn't come around, right? But everyone's born. I believe everyone's born for a reason, and we can't see it. Not everyone can see it. They're thinking, oh yeah, I'm a born nurse. I'm born to do this. No, that's just that's just
Mm.
the job I'm doing at the moment. I'm born, and I've realised that I come into the world to be able to help other people. Because if it's all about yourself, well, then you're going to die a pretty lonely person. And what value has that been to anyone else in this world that we share? It's just of no value. It's only a value to me. So what? Me, myself, and I. It's a big world, it's a big world. And that's what, like I said, got me out of bed. It was my daughter this morning. So it was like, yeah, okay, it's 6 o'clock and she needs a hug. And I was like, okay, no worries. And if I even forgot about this meeting, I was like, okay, no worries. That's worth getting out of bed for,
Yeah, that's it.
I'll get out of bed for that. Someone wants a hug, I'll get out of bed and give them a hug. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's not recognizing your value and how valuable you are. And you can't put a money value on how valuable someone is. That's why the government, the taxpayer, will spend millions of dollars on rehabilitating people,
yeah,
because they affect that one person that we're helping. Say they're stuck overseas, they might have taken drugs to Bali. What the heck? You know, what
yeah,
the heck? But we'll go and spend millions of dollars to get them back, because why? They've got an addiction. Why? Because right at the start they didn't realize how valuable they were. And that one person has a knock-on effect to everybody that person knows, the parents, the brothers, the sisters, and they all then have issues that have a money cost. But really, money's nothing. It helps. It helps us live, but money's not the issue here. That's why there seems to be no limit on how much we spend on getting someone well. So
yes,
yeah, so because money's not the issue, it's getting them well. We just need that to help get people sorted out. And so if one person falls over with an addiction and gets stuck in jail for the rest of their life in Bali, we will go to the ends of the earth to try and help that person as much as we can. In Australia, if you're stuck in another country, well, they've got different rules. It makes it very difficult, but we still try our hardest to do it, because again, money is not the issue. It's the person and their value, which is much higher than any money value.
yes, that's exactly right. So,
Yeah.
so I'll just move on. So now, there was a reason why security were in the hospitals, and the main reason, from what I could see, was basically the protection of people such as yourself, the doctors, obviously, and other
Yeah.
support staff. So tell us a little bit about that, because you um, I won't talk about you, but if you could talk about other people that you know, that you've worked with, or that have been previous nurses, because I from what I witnessed, a lot of nurses pull out because of the violence that are in the hospitals.
Yes. So since 2014, when I started in the public, on my ward, there's only 2 people, I think, that are still there. And we
Oh
have
wow!
something like 67 staff on that ward. So, so yeah, it's around the clock nursing, and there's five nurses per shift. Yeah. So, and we need to be able to cover holidays and all sorts of things. So, I think I read the other day it was around about 60 or more nurses, and out of those, there's only two left, apart from me as well. And I'm on my way out. So yes, I'm on my way out. So yeah, I've moved on, moving on slowly out of mental health, because it gets to you after a while. It gets to you.
Yeah.
But primarily, I'll always consider myself a mental health nurse, because that's my main training. Um, I'll just be better at it from having a break, obviously, from
Yeah.
that. So your question was, your
Just
question was,
just talk about what you saw with other nurses, and why there is such a large turnover. And what I saw was for me, it was because they were getting assaulted too much, and that's why they leave.
Got to be careful what I say here.
It's
Yeah,
okay
because
if you don't want to talk about it. It's fine because
no,
I've
that's fine.
I,
I can talk a little bit. Um, your
because it's why I bring it
personal,
up is because why I bring it up is because I saw so many nurses get assaulted. I
yeah,
saw a lot,
yeah,
and we can only
yeah.
be, we can't be everywhere. So
I I would
it's
like to say, um, a lot of the nurses. I don't know the statistics, but a lot. Well, I do. From at the time I was there, the nurses that got assaulted were generally serious. When I say assaulted, seriously assaulted. And there's spitting, all sorts of things that go on: spitting, hitting, punching, kicking, um, and even worse. But I won't go into that. Um, that
yeah.
that thing
I saw
happens
that too.
because of the age. The age, not the age, not the age or maturity. I don't want to be an ageist. Age is. I don't want to use ageism, but really, it's a lack of I can't even say it's a lack of experience. It is. It is. It's a lack of training, and they're too confident. They think they know what to do, and they think they know they're going to be all right. They're going to be. They're put in. They're thrown out in front often by the older people, saying, "Oh, you go first because you're younger." It's like, hello. How about the more mature one that's not as fit, that's older, that's more likely to be a little bit more wary of them and stand to the
Yeah,
side,
and understands what could happen. Yeah, and that's
understands what could happen and not understand to expect the unexpected. It's a bit like driving. I like it like riding a motorcycle on a car. You're not going to be seen, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
you can't. Drivers don't see motorcycles. Truck drivers definitely don't see motorcycles. That's the last thing they see on the road. They might say they do, but they don't. I'm a rider. I know they don't. I can put a bright yellow vest on completely and still have people pull out point blank range. It's ridiculous, right? They don't
yeah,
see, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing in the hospital. The patient that is unwell doesn't see that what they're about to do is going to lead them down a dark path. It's also going to drastically, and when I say drastically, I mean drastically affect the person's life that they're about to assault, right? So they're impulsive, so it can be impulsive. There can be cognitive impairments, which can make it really hard for them to pull up if they're angry, and not assault someone, because they haven't got that control. Um, and it usually is impulsive, but it's not always a cognitive impairment. It's just me, myself, and I'm not getting what I want. You you're standing in my way, or I'll show everybody by knocking this person out that I shouldn't be here. Well, no, it doesn't. That doesn't actually work. It affects their life
mm,
more than what they realise after they're done. A lot of it is impulse. A lot of it is can't be predicted. They'll
no,
often
I agree.
there's this saying that I can say, that they always ask you on a debrief. The managers will always ask you, "What could you have done better?" Not come into
Yeah,
work that day. It's like, that there's always a reflect. Most people that get assaulted always have a fair amount of time to reflect on what they could have done better. You know,
yeah,
um, and in my case, in my cases, um, it would be just not to go out on the floor, just not to go in front of them. But we can't. You can't do it. In other words, there is no answer. There is nothing you really could have done better. Um, if yeah, there kind of is. So, oh, maybe I could have read all the notes and made sure I understood the patient really well. But if it's there, if you've read the notes and there's no issues, and it's their first day in hospital or their third or fourth day in hospital, and you really want to get to know them, you can't get to know them from the other side of the room. You got to be in front of them. You got to be
Yeah.
sitting beside them. You got to be you got to have some sort of communication going on, and it's that period of time that there's a risk. Also, there's a risk, obviously, if they've come back and used, if they've been out on leave, they've come back and they've used, and they're totally out of control. Somebody's got to be there to control them and get them under control, medicate them. And usually we wait on the security guards for that, but that doesn't always work. And mind you, security
Yeah.
guards are a big target as well. They become the target, and there's plenty of security guards that get assaulted as well. And with all their training, I'd like to hear what their answers are when they get asked what could they have done better. They're trained, they're expecting it,
Yeah.
and they still get assaulted, and they get asked, "What could you have done better?" It's a horrible thing to get asked, especially in the time that it's happened. Um, I don't know why I've gone down that track, but yeah, it's
Yeah. That's so what they would do with us is they'd review the footage. So they'd say, "Oh, you
mm,
know, um, your positioning with it," and but normally
yeah,
it wasn't. It was more around how can we train around getting in the right position.
exactly. And then remember that when you remember that when you're in the situation,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
your
But
adrenaline's
you don't know. I mean, I got assaulted. I got
yeah,
assaulted by an elderly gentleman with a cane stick
yeah,
in a they call it GEMS and
yeah,
geriatric extended care unit.
yeah.
Um, there was a geriatric and extended miscellaneous unit. Sorry.
That's the one.
Anyway,
Yep.
and yeah, it was just an elderly gentleman sitting in a wheelchair, and he wouldn't take. Was being aggressive towards the nurses, and
Yeah.
uh, he's in a wheelchair. He's got a cane stick.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think that they could do much with a cane stick in a wheelchair. So
Yeah.
um, yeah. Anyway, I even approached him from the back, so he couldn't get me, and yeah, he just pulled his stick straight up in front of me and hit me fair in the face. So I mean,
Yeah.
even though I still got a hand to the stick, I still couldn't stop it completely. So,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah,
and I wasn't
yeah,
the only one he'd done it to. He'd done it to others as well. So
yeah, yeah,
he was sneaky. He was sneaky.
yep, yep, yeah.
So you
It's
don't
a
know. You don't know what they're going
no,
to do, and and the ones that you don't think that's going to happen, that's the one that does happen.
exactly,
Complacency.
exactly. So yeah, you just it's just like I I like it to ride a motorcycle on the road. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen in front of you. You got to be ready for
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And you kind of got to
yeah,
expect it. So to answer that question again, what could you have done better? Is actually without being paranoid, be more expecting that a seemingly calm, happy, smiley, cheery person might just suddenly lash out with no provoke, nobody provoking them to do it, because there's
yeah,
something internal that they're not letting out, that something's wrong, and they're not letting it out. Um, and then all of a sudden you're Johnny on the spot. You're the one that's going to cop it, and you don't necessarily know.
yeah,
Those assaults happen a lot, but more often it is the training of the nursing staff where they'll happen in a seclusion area, or where somebody is really affected by drugs, and they got that superhuman strength. They feel
yeah,
safe because there's security guards there, and
yeah,
but the security guards aren't quick enough. You can't be. You
yeah.
can't be always quick. You can't be always there. And
So I
and
found
it's the
some.
nurse. It's the nurse that goes in with the tablet or the injection that they
Yeah,
clearly don't want, because they just paid $300 out on a hit, and it's going to reverse it.
yes, I saw that too. I saw that.
Yeah,
I remember. I remember there was one gentleman. There was he was
yeah,
on crystal meth, and I found out this is what actually happens. it's not that they have super strength. It's
Yeah.
just that they don't feel pain. It's the
Yes,
opioid
exactly.
actually.
Yeah, yeah,
It's the
exactly.
opioid
That's
actually
right.
stops any
Yeah,
pain. So
yeah,
they get this excess strength because they just don't feel it. Like
yeah,
normally,
yeah.
so pain is a natural mechanism of the body to say, something wrong.
Enough. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you're doing too much. So
yeah,
because they don't feel the pain, they just push themselves even harder. So then,
yeah, yeah,
I've seen a guy dislocate his arm, and he still was pushing people up. They were all on top of him. There
yeah,
was about
yeah,
5 or 6 people on top of him, and he's still pushing himself up. And I'm thinking, wow! And you could hear the snap of
yeah,
the joint.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, we're running out of time.
All
We've
right.
done well. We've done really well. So I'll just ask you the last question.
Yep.
So, what rules or ideas would you go by, Warren, to attain lifelong longevity?
Okay. Um, be kind to yourself. I think
Mm.
be kind to yourself, because if you're not in a good headspace and a good physical condition, you can't help other people, and that's what I started off saying. What gets you out of bed in the morning is other people. So if you realize that that's your destiny is actually for your neighbor, it's actually for your friend, your partner, it's actually for everyone you come in contact with. If that's your destiny, not just to, you know, I don't know, sit and collect stamps, you know, sit and collect stamps. Recognize your value. So there's two things: be kind to yourself, recognize your value, um, and recognize the value of other people. Because if you recognize the value of other people, you're not going to run that red light on the road again, right? You're going to be cautious. You're going to be okay, it's orange. I can actually stop. I should actually stop, right? um, so that's recognizing the value of other people and yourself, right? Being kind to yourself. Because when you do run the red light, most people think, what do I do that for? Everyone's done it.
Yeah,
Come on, at least
yeah,
once. Everyone's done it. It's like at least once. What did I do that for? And that's just one example. But there's other things. Why did I do that? Why did I drink so much? You know,
yeah,
I could have just stopped on one drink,
yeah,
one social drink. I didn't have to drink and drink and drink. So that's being kind to yourself and being kind to the other person that you're going home to, right?
yeah.
And yeah, recognizing the value of your colleagues and the human that's next to you, basically your neighbours, your friends.
Wise words, my dear friend Warren. So much appreciated for your time, and thank you so much. We talked about some very sensitive subjects, and much appreciated for your input. And I'm Dr. Scott from Six Sense Acupuncture and also the Healthy Habits Club. And you've been watching the Get Busy Livin podcast with Warren, and appreciated your time, brother. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Have a great day, guys.